Hey students, welcome to Unit 6. We are going to be talking about integers and their opposites today. I have this little tiny video that's embedded in this lesson, and I just want you to watch this little tiny, just this first part. So it's talking about the positive numbers are on the right-hand side of the zero, and the negative are on the left-hand side of the zero. So that is basically what we're talking about today, are integers and their opposites. And if we want to talk about integers, integers are whole numbers. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way into infinity. And they're opposites. The opposite of 1 is -1. The opposite of 2 is -2, and so on and so forth. And that is what we're basically going to be talking about today. First of all, we're going to take care of your bell work. So get your bell work out, and here we go. Okay, so here is your bell work for today. And we want to know what 12 is 25% of what? Okay, so I did one of these problems the other day with you, and part and whole is over of. Okay, so is the part. So we know that 12 goes in the is part. 25%, so we go here with the 25%. And the whole is the part that we're looking for. We don't know what it is. It says of what? Well, the things that we don't know in math, we always call them a variable, and I just choose X. Now, from here, we just do some cross multiplication. So 25 times X is 25X equals 12 times 100 is 1,200. Now we make our railroad tracks. We divide by 25 on both sides. Might be helpful to have a calculator on this one. So we're going to go 1,200 divided by 25, and we get 48. So 48 is our of. 12 is 25% of 48. Okay, so here we go. We're going to look at number 2. Add parentheses to make these true. So we're trying to get to 150. This one's going to be kind of a trial and error. And what I want you to do right now is I want you to hit pause and try some of these out and see if you can find out what the right answer is. So give it a try. I'm not going to give you the answers. We'll talk about this at a later time. Okay, number 3. We are going to look at and graph these numbers on a number line. This is actually what we're talking about in this unit, in Unit 6. So we're going to first of all go, okay, here's 0. So let me get a color here. Here's 0 right here. Well, I am talking about -2.5. So I'm going to go -2.5 of that, and this would be -2.5. Then I want to go -1 3/4. So we're going to go, we'll use a different color to show it. So -1 and then 3/4 would be about right there. Oh, whoops, -1 3/4. Then I've got -1/4. So 1/4 is about right there. So -1/4. And then we have 1 1/2. So I'm going to go 1.5. So 1 1/2. Okay, so there are your graph points for those numbers, those fractions. And let's see what else we have on this page. Okay, so that's it. So add your parentheses. We'll talk about that, see what you got. All right, in your notes, we have some of these key vocabulary words that you need to be aware of. So let's just review this for a minute. An integer is a number with no fractional part. All the whole numbers and all the whole negative numbers are integers. 0 is an integer. Fractions are not integers. If for emphasis, if you want to underline the not right there, that might help you out. So not integers. So it gives us some examples of not integers. 1.5 or 1 5/10, -2. And so anything with a decimal and a fraction is not an integer. Integers: 2, -16, 38, 0, 459. So integers, you should know the definition since that is what we're going to be discussing. Positive numbers. A number that is greater than 0 is a positive number. For example, 4 736, 8.5, and 6200ths are all positive numbers. So even fractions and decimals can be positive numbers. A negative number is kind of the opposite of that. A number less than 0 is a negative number. So anything that's to the left of the 0 on the number line is going to be negative. An opposite number. The opposite of 4 is negative 4. The opposite of negative 4 is 4. So everything has their own mirror image. And that's kind of what I think about an opposite number, is that if, you have 7, well, if you look at it in the mirror, it could be a negative 7, right? So it has an opposite that's exactly the same distance away from 0 on the number line. So like if we're comparing 10, well, 10's here. Its opposite is negative 10. It is also 10 away from 0, but in the opposite direction. The number that is an equal distance from 0 on the opposite side of the number line. So those are some vocabulary words that you should be very familiar with as we start talking about integers and some of these numbers and things like that. All right, we're now looking at your practice. Let's take a look at it for just a minute. Write a positive or negative integer that represents the situation. So let's take a look at this first one here. It says write a positive. Okay, so you gain 60 points in a board game. So that's just going to be 60. Remember, we don't have to put a plus 60 because it's a positive. If it's positive, we just write the number. Number 2, the temperature is 9 degrees below 0. So we'd go negative 9. The stock market drops 18 points, so minus 18. You earn $125 at your job, so $125, so just $125. Number 5, to ride an amusement park ride, your height must be at or above the line on the sign. For each set of information, write an integer that represents a person's height relative to the line on the sign, and write yes or no as to whether they can ride the sign. Height is 2 inches above the line on the sign. So we have to write an integer, so 2. Height is 5 inches below, negative 5. Height is 1 inch below, negative 1. Okay, so pretty easy so far, right? So number 6, identify the integer represented by the point on the number line. So we're looking for A, and then we're going to come along here. Oh, A is at negative 10. Then we're going to look for B. B is at 15, 16, 17. So we're at 17. Then we're going to look for C. C is right here, so 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 8. And then we're looking for D. D is all the way back here, so negative 15, negative 16, negative 17. And we have negative 17. All right, so pretty easy so far. Nothing too difficult. Okay, now it wants us to graph the integer and its opposite. Oh my goodness. So how are we going to do this? It wants us to graph negative 9 and its opposite. Well, if I'm looking here, let's see how many things are on my line here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's not even like enough space here, right? Well, what can we do? Do we have to count by ones all the time? No, we don't. We can go, you know what? I'm going to call this guy right here 0, and I can count by 5s. Okay, so we got 5, 10. Well, and then we've got negative 5, negative 10. Well, where would negative 9 be? Well, negative 9 would be right before the negative 10, so we go negative 9, and then we come over here and go 9. Pretty simple. So we can do the same thing on this one, okay? We can say, you know what? We're going to make the middle 0, and then we can count by 5. So 5's here, negative 5's there, okay? It looks like we pretty much have them graphed, so we're just going to go right here and right there. Pretty simple. Okay, let's take a look at number 12. You hike 72 feet up a mountain. The next day you hike 12 feet down the mountain, okay? So if you go 72 feet up the mountain, and then the next day you come down 12 feet, it wants us to write an integer to represent each situation. So how would we write 72 feet up the mountain? We just write 72. How would we do 12 feet down the mountain? Well, we would do negative 12. Okay, so we're just getting familiar with negative, positive words that help us to know what we're meaning mathematically. Okay, these numbers 1 through 4 here, these are in a different lesson, but we'll go over them anyway. We've got find the absolute value. So we're going to find the absolute value of negative 5. Now, that means how far away is negative 5 from 0? Well, it's 5 spots from 0. Well, how far away is 7 from 0? 7. How far away is 0 from 0? 0. And how far away is negative 31 from 0? 31. Yeah, pretty simple there. Absolute value isn't too difficult at this point. It can get a little bit more confusing later on down the line, but we'll talk about that. Okay, number 5, 6, and 7 here. Complete the statement using a less than, greater than, or equal to. So it's 7, and remember, this is an absolute value of negative 4, which is 4. So which one's bigger? Well, 7's greater than 4. The next one, we have 9 and the absolute value of negative 10. So that means, remember, how far away is negative 10 from 0? Well, it's 10. So 10 is greater. This one is 8 and this one is 8. They're both 8s. So they're equal. Okay, so not too difficult on that practice. Hopefully that helps you out a little bit as you're doing your assignment. Okay, so here is your assignment, and it's pretty much, as I'm looking at it, built kind of the same way as the practice. So if you looked at the practice and you followed along, you should do just fine on this assignment. So guys, give this a try. Good luck. If you have problems, as always, ask your teacher.